Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video we're going to be looking at CSS margins. Now what are margins? Margins are used to create space around elements outside of any defined borders. Now let's say we want to add a bit of space between this text and the edge of this page. That is what we can use margins for. Now go into your code editor and let's start writing some code. So the first thing we can do is this our h1 tag. First of all, let's select that. Then before we look at margins, let's look at border. We can add the border using the border property. Then 1 pixel in solid red. So we'll look at this property on that video, but for the sake of this video we're going to add it to our elements so that we can see what we're actually doing. Now you can see we have a border around this text. Now for us to add some space between this page, let's say we want to move the text a bit from the left, then we'll use the margin left property. So okay, let's say we want to move it 50 pixels away from the left, then we use margin left 50 pixels, then go back and refresh, and you see it has been moved 50 pixels from the left. Now same thing we can do for the right, and type margin right 50 pixels, save, go back and refresh. Now I can see that also been moved 50 pixels from the right. And same thing for top and bottom. So okay, let's add margin top, say 100 pixels, and margin bottom under 100 pixels. I'll save this and go back and refresh, and you see that we have space at the top of 100 pixels, space bottom of 100 pixels, left and right of 50 pixels. Okay, that's cool, but there is an easier way to write this, and that is known as the margin shorthand property. Now to write all of this without having to start writing all these properties individually, left, right, top and bottom, we just use the margin property. Now how can you convert all of this into just one line? Now it goes like this. So as you can see, we wrote left, right. So how it starts is the first value right will work for all sides. So let's comment this. So you can select all of this and hit Ctrl / and save. So now with this property, if we go back, you will see that both the top, bottom, left and right all have the same margin of 50 pixels, and that's because we specified one value. Now if we specify a second value and say margin 50 pixels and 100 pixels, let's save that and go back. Now what that gives us is this value here works for both left and right, while this first value now works for only top and bottom, as you can see here. So we have 100 pixels on the left, 100 pixels on the right, 50 pixels at the top, 50 pixels at the bottom. Now if we add a third value, like okay, let's say 10 pixels, and save this, now we get our top to be 50 pixels Now we have our top 50 pixels, then we have our left and right 100 pixels, and we have our bottom margin set to 10 pixels. So 50 pixels, 100 pixels, and 10 at the bottom. Now the maximum number of values you can add to a shorten property is 4, which is for top, right, bottom, and left. Now if we add one more and set this to 200 pixels, now what this just does is it sets this first value to the margin top. So it sets margin top to 50 pixels, then it sets margin right to 100 pixels, it sets the margin bottom to 10 pixels, and sets the margin left to 200 pixels. If you go back to your page and refresh, you'll see that in action. So now we have top 50 pixels, right 100 pixels, bottom 10 pixels, and left 200 pixels. So that's a very good way of using margins, and it's way easier than having to write out margin top, bottom, left, right, and all of that. Now another thing we can do with margin is to center a div. Now how do I mean by that? Let's say we have this div now, div of class text. First of all, one thing we can do is we'll first of all select the class name in our CSS file. Then before we move on, let's give this a width. So we can set the width to 300 pixels. Now this just gives it the so now we have the max width is set to 300 pixels. Now let's also give this a border so we can also view what we are working on easier. So now we have a border. Now let's say we want this div to be in the center of this page. Now we can achieve that by using the margin auto. So setting margin to auto, we give the margins at the either top, bottom, left, and right to be automatic. So what that just basically does is it sets all the remaining space that was on the right, puts it on both the left and the right automatically, and that now centers our div. So yeah, that's one very cool and useful feature of the margin property. Now one more thing that we can also do is set use the inherit property value on the margin. So let's create one more div and let's create it up here and call it div dot inherit. So give the class of inherit. We can give this anything you wish. So let's can just have a paragraph here. So same as always, you select that class, then we give it same border 1 pixel solid red. So in another video we'll be explaining how this border property works. Then you can give this margin left of 100 pixels, and we'll save this and let's go back and refresh. Yeah, so now we have our div here. We have a margin of 100 pixels at the left. Now let's say we want the margin left of this paragraph to be the same as whatever we've set here, but we don't want to set this explicitly. Now we can do that by using the inherit property. So you can go and select the inherit class and select all paragraphs in it. You can now type margin left inherit. Now what that just does, it takes the value of the margin left property from its parents. So this div here is the parent element of this paragraph. So let's go back and refresh, and you can see now we have 100 pixels here. So if I increase this to 200 pixels, you will see that the margin left of the paragraph also increases simultaneously. So that will be it for this video. I hope you've learned something on how we can use margins in CSS to create some nice looking layouts. And in our next video, we're going to be looking at paddings, which are very similar to margins but work in a different way. So see you in that video, and bye for now.